This is about not just covering up 9/11, but it's suppressing free energy technology that has been used. They don't want the so-called, quote-unquote, cold fusion to get into the hands of the people because they'll be forever done and no longer be able to. Shoot, they use wars to earn the profits of the oil and the electric industry, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a sort of number of issues which are interlocked and interwoven. Mm-hmm. And certainly, my experience has been that I've had an interest in several of these topics, and I've said this on some of the interviews that I've done before. For example, when I first got an internet connection, and I think it was 1996, one of the first things I ended up searching for was stuff about cold fusion, because I was very interested in it. At the time, I'd come out of university and I'd started my software engineering work by that time, so I still held quite a strong interest in some of the cutting edge scientific developments. And this thing with cold fusion, I thought, well, that sounded like really significant. I wonder what happened to it, and that was one of the first things I ended up searching for. And I remember I had a big folder with a load of pages that I printed out, because it was much easier to get information from the internet than going off to the library and going after these sorts of books, which there weren't many books about cold fusion. Mm-hmm. So it was really a realization later on that this was all part of the same pattern. These were the things that were being heavily suppressed, were the things which would change our lives the most, and every opportunity that comes along for these people to suppress the awareness of these things, or take the attention away or ridicule it, it is done in big style, and it becomes very vicious, and it becomes pernicious and even fatal for some people. Mm-hmm. So and I've seen this happening now in several different fields. And then I found that there are figures, within these fields that are connected. I mean, for example, as you mentioned, cold fusion in relation to 9/11, mm-hmm. We find this Stephen E. Jones character. He's involved in cold fusion research, and he's involved in 9/11 research, and yet this guy still gets invited to conferences. I mean, what do people think they're doing? Why can't they see that this is one of the underlying vastly, hugely important threads of 9/11 that needs to be talked about?
Oh, yeah.
The people that are involved with it need to be shown, their track record needs to be shown and explained, mm-hmm. and they need to be ignored, frankly.
Yeah.
And ultimately they need to be, for example, I personally blame Stephen E. Jones mm-hmm. and the people that he's associated with for what happened at Fukushima, because of the way that he handled himself in the 1980s and the choices that he made, we are still using polluting energy sources, dangerous energy sources at times, like nuclear power.
Right.
And he is in part responsible for that state of affairs.